This week's episode is brought to you in part by Adobe Systems, the people who bring you Photoshop, Illustrator, and an entire line of software for web design and video. CDW, for hardware, software, gadgets, and more, CDW has the right technology right now. DLO, makers of the Home Dock Deluxe. Watch your favorite podcast on your TV with the Home Dock Deluxe from DLO. Azo, makers of high-end monitors for creative and moving image professionals. And iStock Photo, the world's preeminent collection of member-generated royalty-free images and digital art.
The lad's here.
Lad's here. Lad about it.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode. We are the Photoshop Guys. My name is Scott Kelby, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Dave Cross.
Hey, everybody.
And filling in for Matt Kloskowski, it's the Photoshop laddie, Mr. Corey Barker.
Hello, everyone.
Well, hi, folks. Welcome to another exciting show, sponsored by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people who bring you Photoshop User Magazine that would normally be right here. But as you can see, we're ill-prepared. We're in a hastily prepared studio. Yes, I know you're shocked. And like, wow, I can't believe. We're still obviously in our transition. We had hoped to finish our new digs, our new studio, our new setup. But as you can see, that did not happen. And it probably won't happen next week or the week after. There we go. Thanks. Thank you. How was Eddie? There it is. There's the magazine. So we just had that flown in. Hey, also, we're very excited that one of our biggest fans is here.
Yes.
Hey, okay, so the Matt guy, where is Matt? Matt is actually teaching at Adobe Live in Europe. He is in Brussels and then on to Amsterdam. He's gonna have a little report, a special on-scene report from there later in the show. And certainly if not this show, well, next week's show. But at some point, Matt will send us something. Okay, what else? Matt, go see Matt in, well, if you're not already over there, it's probably too late. But he does have a workshop coming up that is almost sold out in Banff. The dates are June 13th through 17th. If you wanna spend some quality time with Matt, and I know that you do. That's coming up. He's taking a photo workshop out to Banff, so you're shooting in the morning, you're shooting at dusk, and then you're doing Photoshop stuff all during the day. Should be a lot of fun. Go to gapweb.com, GAPW, which is the Great American Photo Workshops, and that will lead you to their new website, which has a different address. I don't know what it is. This is a great time, I think, to turn things over to Mr. Corey Barker.
Quickly.
Barker, quickly. Do a tutorial quick before they realize what's going on.
Oh, right, if I must. Well, it has been a summer of sequels at the movies, as everyone knows, so...
I love this intro.
I know.
I'm fascinated already.
Yes, tell us more.
Well, as you know, I'm a big movie fan, so I always look at the movies and see, what could I do in Photoshop? Well, we all know that Shrek came out recently, and I was very intrigued by the lettering, the text, the texture of the lettering that they do on the show, on the poster. So I thought, I have to give that a try, and I've actually figured something out. Kind of a cool technique for it.
That's good, because I think Dave and I were both intrigued with that as well.
We were.
Yes, and
weren't you, Dave?
I was anxiously, I thought, I'm not going to figure it out.
I've got
I'll wait for Corey to do
email
it.
after email asking me how to do this, and you know what? Here we are.
That means two.
So, here I have the art I've already created for Shrek 7, which will be coming out in about 2013. So, first thing I'm going to do is actually load this layer as a selection, because I want to make an alpha channel out of this piece of art here. So, with it loaded as a selection, I'm going to go to load selection, or save selection rather. Not load, but save. So there I've got it saved as an alpha channel. Go into this alpha channel, and I'm going to go to filter other, because I want to kind of inset this a little bit. So I'm going to go to other, minimum. And we're going to set this to about 20 pixels, and you can see that it is set it inside there a little bit. It looks a little funky, but that's okay. Next thing I'm going to do is go under filter again, and we're going to go to blur. Gaussian blur, Gaussian, whoever wants to say it that way. And we're going to give it a big blur, about 25 pixel radius there. Just hit OK. So now I've got that alpha channel created. I'm going to go back into my composite channel, back into the layers, and I'm going to create a new layer. Fill this layer with a neutral 50% gray. I'm going to press Shift-Delete, and we'll fill that in. Go under Filter. Go down to Texture, Texturizer.
You want to use the Shrek texture? Or is that...
Yes, the new Shrek plugin.
No.
From DreamWorks. No, not really. Anyway, we're going to go into the texture menu here, go to sandstone, and we're going to put the scaling all the way to 200%. We'll leave the relief at 4 and then the light at top. But before I hit OK, I'm going to add another texture in here. Clicking the little new texture here.
Double texture.
And we're going to go in this little pull-out menu here and go to load texture. And we're going to go into our default preset textures inside my Photoshop folder here.
So those are already on your hard drive,
These are
right?
already inside your Photoshop application folder. And we're going to look for the Stucco 2 here. And let's click Load. And I'm just going to leave the settings as I did before, 204, and then the lighting from the top. You can see we're getting a nice mixture of texture there. So hit OK. So now we have that. So I'm going to clip this inside that number 7 here, which is right beneath it, by using a clipping group. So I'm going to hold down my Option or Alt key and click right in between those layers.
So which is it, Option or Alt?
Option if you're on a Mac, Alt PC.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I just came off a red eye. I'm really tired.
I know, and I sympathize.
Thank you.
All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is go under Filter to Liquify. Here's where it gets interesting. With this giant window here, let me minimize this a little bit. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is go down here where it says Show Backdrop. I want to be able to see the shape of the letter I'm using. And since I don't remember what layer number it was, I'm just going to try one and see which one I get. There it is. So that's just showing me what's on the rest of my image. It's not going to affect that. But that alpha channel I created earlier, I'm going to load that because I want that to mask off the area that I don't want to be affected. I'm going to go to this third icon right here, which is under Mask Options. We're just going to this little pull-down menu, and I'm going to select that Alpha 1 channel. And this color will actually represent the area that will be unaffected by my painting that I'm about to do. And what I'm going to do is actually this little area around the edge here, I'm going to push that in from the sides to give that letter a little bit of shape, rounded shape around those edges, just to kind of give it a little more organic feel to it. So with my brush size fairly large, about right around 150, pressure about 60, I'm just going to go around that letter and push in from that outside edge all the way around. Now of course, where that alpha channel is visible, it's not affecting at all. See if I paint inside there, you see nothing's happening. So push that a little bit there. I'm going to make my brush, use my scrubby slider here, make my brush a little bit smaller.
All right, and that's it for this week's show. Thanks for...
Thank you very much. No.
We're out of time.
We're not far now.
No, I'm just messing with you.
And of course, I could spend probably another 20 hours on that part, but I'm not going to. So we'll hit OK. Now, of course, doesn't look like much yet because we have to give it some shading to define that area a little bit. So I'm going to create a new layer, fill that one yet with another 50% gray, and add that inside that clipping group by holding down the Option, Mac, Alt, PC key.
Thank you.
And I'm going to change that layer's blending mode to hard light. Now we're going to get our burn tool here. And with it set to midtones at an exposure of 25, I'm actually going to increase that brush size using my bracket key. It's going to paint around that edge just to define that area. I think I have a pressure setting here. I'll turn the smoothing off there. Shape that up just a little bit. Are you getting on with this?
Yeah, we're right with you.
Rapt attention, just the silence is focused.
Now, of course, I'm doing this on its own layer, so I can make all kinds of adjustments after the fact, not affecting the texture itself at all. So when I get that shading done, I'm just going to create a color adjustment layer, solid color adjustment layer, right above that. Of course, looking for that Shrek green color.
This is so darn easy.
And then we're going to go and change that blending mode to color. Now, it's coloring the entire layer.
Yes,
I don't want
it is.
that. I'm going to activate a selection of that original layer and just invert the selection by pressing Shift-Command.
How did you activate that?
Command clicking directly on that layer will load that selection.
Okay, I thought you just like kind of pointed your cursor at it and it magically selected.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to do something even better. Load it as a selection, and when I go and create that adjustment layer, it will go ahead and create the mask based on that selection. We'll just get that green. Change that to color. Now, wait. Hold on.
Right.
One last thing. I'm going to take my path tool here. I'm going to go back to that shading layer, and I'm just going to draw the inside area of that ear, just so we can shape out.
It's a little like ovals.
Just little tiny oval. I'll zoom in a little bit so we can see. So I've got those paths there. I'm going to load them as a selection by pressing Command Enter, Control Enter. Now on that same shading layer with the burn tool, I'm just going to burn in that area right there. And that will begin to define the depth of those ears a little bit more. So we'll use that blur tool to remove a little bit of that detail. Then lastly, well, that's a little shadow there, a little sky background. And there you have little Shrek lettering.
There you go. So if DreamWorks calls and says, hey, we fired the guy that did the last one, well, you'll know exactly what to do.
There you go.
Corey, thanks very much.
No problem.
It was great. I'm so tired. I don't even know where I'm at. Because yesterday I was in San Jose, California, and I took a red eye, stupidly, and then flew to Washington, D.C. and changed planes, and then flew to Tampa, and then came to the studio. I'm not sure where I'm at, but I'm in a mellow mood. And that is a great segue to bring on Mr. Dave Cross. Dave, you're not doing anything Shrek related, are you?
Surprisingly, I had to change my plan because I
At the
was
last
going
minute?
to, but at the last minute I thought can't have more than one Shrek thing. I was going to do like how to do Fiona and change her hair color, but figured not. You know, as Corey was finishing that, in my head I was hearing this voice go, "That'll do, donkey. That'll do."
That'll do, donkey.
That'll do. Thank you.
All right, that's great.
Changing topics, I thought I would speak to you briefly about this wonderful thing called Match Color. When it first came out a few versions ago, everyone was like, "Ooh, this looks pretty good," but then, you know, sometimes the results weren't quite what we might have in mind, but it's got some interesting possibilities, especially if you look at it beyond just for what its main purpose is, which is to try and make two photographs look like each other, but to use it in some different ways. So I have two different photos here, as you can see, taken at the same time, but with some experimentations I had done with exposure and lighting and so on. So I really like the look of the right-hand one. I'd like the left-hand one to look more like it. So let's see if we can get that to happen with Match Color. And I think you're going to find that one of the problems with it is it doesn't quite always do what you want. So this is the dialog box. I'm going to choose as my source the other file, and you'll see just at a glance it really hasn't matched. I mean, it's got some of the same colors, but it's doing things I don't really like. So we have a bit of control to either fade or lower the color intensity, but you can see no matter what I do, I'm just not really going to get it to be exactly the same. So from that respect, I find that Match Color doesn't perhaps work all that well for that purpose some of the time, but what it can do some really interesting things if you're just willing to experiment. For example, if I change the source to none, that really just means I'm not using any other document, I'm using this document, and just by playing with these sliders you can get some pretty cool effects just as a way of changing your photo without having to go into something like Camera Raw. It's got similar kind of effects to create interesting kind of duotones or faded color effects simply by using the one photo itself. So that's one option. I would tend to probably duplicate the background layer, because if I'm going to make some significant changes here, I want a chance to change my mind. So one of the things that we can do that's kind of interesting is if you make any old selection in this photo, and I'm just going to feather it just a wee bit, and then go into this other photo that's going to be our source and do the same thing. Just select a few significant areas with a few different shades in them. And once again, feather, just doing that to give a range of colors. I'll be feather this a little more. Now when we go to Match Color, things will change a little bit, because now we're adding in a couple of other factors. So now in this dialog box we have some options in here. For example, when I choose this other photo as my source, I can now decide what I want to use. Now generally, unless you only want to color the select area, you're going to want to choose Ignore Selection when applying adjustment. And you'll see now, as I'm doing this, I'm using the selection in the other photo to calculate the color. So I can do that in both the source and the target, which again is going to be more of kind of a special effect in this case, just because of the settings that we have. So that's one option that's giving me some weird and wonderful effects. If you want to be more specific though, and a simple way to do that would be to make a quick selection. I'm just going to use the magic wand in this case. I know it'll do an okay job for this. So now we once again go back to Match Color. In this case, I'm not going to ignore the selection, because all I want to do is adjust just that selected area. So I'm going to turn that off, and you see now it's effectively changing just the sky. If I press Command Control H, I can get a better idea. So now by playing around with these settings, I'm using some of the colors in this photo to dramatically change only the sky, because that's the part I have selected. And if you imagine if you deliberately picked a photo that had just really unusual colors, you'd get a whole different effect. And again, as I mentioned, when I did this, I made sure I duplicated this layer, so if at this point I noticed anything that was a problem, I could always apply a layer mask. So my message to you,
Dave's message
you out there,
you know who you
is
are.
to try this and just be willing to experiment and look beyond the obvious use for this and many other things in Photoshop. That's how we expand our horizons and learn more in the lifelong learning thing. So,
Wow.
play with match color, won't you?
Wow. That's great
That's my
advice,
message.
Dave. Golly, that's swell. Hey, let's take a short break. When we come back, we've got, well, perhaps a special report from Matt. We definitely have a tutorial from me that is based on the movie Shrek. It's not, but no, I've got some new stuff. And we'll be right back. So don't go away. We're the Photoshop guys. We'll see you guys in just about 45 minutes. Just a second or two, just very quick, brief.
Greg, this should get your business going.
Thank you, Bob.
Perfect.
With dedicated account managers who understand what you need when you need it, we're there. CDW.
Hey, we are back, and the big news is, of course, Photoshop World Las Vegas registration is open. It's coming up here on June, no, not in June. June would be very, very soon. It's coming up in September in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino, and I believe it's like September 5th, 6th
through the 8th.
6th through the 8th. I hope to be there on those dates. It's coming up this September. Going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot of new things. We have, of course, new instructors. We have some new classes. We have Lightroom tracks, Creative Suite tracks, Photoshop Extended tracks, Special Interest tracks, tracks upon tracks upon tracks, like 80 and 90 something classes. Plus, we've got our first career fair. So if you're looking for a job in the Photoshop industry, big names will be there like Pixar and stuff looking for Photoshop talent.
Nice.
So that's brand new. Of course, Adobe will be there, and
Portfolio reviews, pre-cons.
portfolio reviews. There's pre-conference workshops. So much
great.
fun. You can't stand it. Go check out photoshopworld.com to register. Also, Dave, tell them about the B&H contest that, well, has run its course.
Well, it's run its course in terms of the entry time is now done. So we now have many, many, many entries that
Thousands.
we need to go through and pick a winner. So we'll get back to you on that. We had announced that the entry deadline was June 1st, which is now passed. So now we have to dig through all of them and look at them and decide our finalists and then pick a winner from that, which we will, I would say, probably in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, a
by
couple of weeks.
By the time we go through everything and give it fair time to
Yep.
check that out. So check back in 2 weeks to see who is announced as the big winner.
Yep. And for those of you who haven't been tuning in, and you know who you are, which is all of you, the contest really is, it's a photography contest, and if you entered, Dave, Matt, and I are going to look at all the entries, pick our very favorite one just based on which is our very favorite one, and we're going to fly that person to New York City on an airplane, put them up in a fancy hotel, and give them a $1,000 shopping spree at the world's greatest place, B&H Photo. It's like Chuck E. Cheese for adults. So anyway, that's the contest, and we'll have a winner here shortly.
That's right.
All right. I brought a tutorial this week, and the tutorial I brought this week is from my brand new book, the Photoshop CS3 book for digital photographers. Now, it's not actually on the shelves yet. That's why I'm giving you the sneak peek here. I'm just finishing up the finishing touches on it right now. Should be out in June. So better be out in June. How's that? Or my publisher will kill me. No, because I'm pretty much done with writing the book. I'm just doing little finishing touches now. And I'm going to give you an actual tutorial from the book, a sneak peek, because the book has a lot of new content.
I was going to ask you, it's not just only updated with new screenshots for CS3, right? There's new techniques.
No.
And
Well, I
bunch of
rewrote
stuff.
the bridge chapter, and then the advanced bridge chapter, and the camera raw chapter, and I rewrote. I would say rewrote. I
We
rewrote.
wrote a whole lot of it.
I rewrote a lot of it. It's very good. I actually spent a lot of time on adding a lot of new stuff, because since CS2 and now I've learned a whole bunch of new stuff, and I'm a freak like that. I have to show you.
All right.
So here's
us a
just,
peek, will you?
Well, yeah, this is kind of just a little something different. This is the end of the book. I have a chapter called How to Show Your Work. So everything else is about color management and private printing chapter and all this stuff at the end. So this is kind of a neat little technique for showing your work. What it does, it takes any photograph, Corey.
Yes.
Any photograph. Can I tell you about this?
Any photograph.
Any photograph, and it makes it into an instant pano. And it's also has got a little presentation thing around it, so it's a couple of tutorials in one. So you start off with a a background. And here's I have one here. And it's white. Yes, it is.
It's a very good place to start.
It is. So we're going to start by actually making a solid color adjustment layer. So go to the layers panel, not the layers palette.
Panel.
The panel, it's officially called a panel now. Go to the layers panel and choose solid color, which brings up this little color picker called pick a solid color. The color you want to pick is white because we have a white background, so you want a solid white background. So what you've got is a solid, it's really hard to see, Dave, if you take a look here.
I can see
white
it.
background and then the white solid.
Lots of white.
Take
Right.
your word for it.
So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go and make a rectangular selection using the rectangular marquee tool, and kind of in the shape of where a pano might go. So let me just, whoops, I'm not doing a very good job of that. Maybe something like that. And I'll move it down just a little bit. Something like that. So you want a long, kind of thin selection like that.
Widescreen, yes.
Right. Now, switch your foreground color to black, which you can do by pressing the letter X on your keyboard, which just swaps the foreground and background color. Then we're going to fill that selection by pressing Option, Delete, or on PC, Alt, Backspace. Now, if you look on screen, nothing has happened. You have to actually look to see if it worked by looking right over here. I'll zoom in for you because I care. To the layer mask thumbnail. I like the way I moved it all over the place. Very nicely done. That's where you actually see that it actually did happen. All right, so there, it's kind of a little bit of a leap of faith. And now you can deselect. So here's what we're going to do. I want to add a photograph to this. So we're going to go not to open, it's for losers. We're going to go to place, and we're going to place it as a smart object. Okay, so let's go and we'll choose a smart object, and I've got, I think, one of those right here. It's kind of smart. Right here. That's not the one. It's, where the heck is it? There it is, sorry. Here we go. There it is. And you notice as it comes in, it's automatically a pano. Already, it's a pano, but there's more. All right, so we are going to shrink it down a little over here. Shrink it down a little bit. You kind of want to get it kind of set, all right? The big X across it means there's going to be a big X across your photo. No, this tells you it's a smart object. So get it to the size that you like and hit enter. Now, what's nice is you can grab the move tool and reposition it anywhere you like, and so you can make your pano, however you like. So we'll use a little more of the foreground. All right. Now, we're also going to put a little finishing touch on here. So I'm going to click on the top layer, and I'm going to open up a new document. This does not need to be a smart object. This can be a stupid object. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and open one. It was my signature. So it's I basically scanned my signature, put it on a flatbed scanner. I wrote it in ink, scanned it, and here it is in Photoshop. If you have a tablet, you can just write it with a hard edge brush. There you go. And we'll drag it in here. So that's a little big, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it small. I'm going to put it down here. So you're going to kind of get like a little bit of a gallery looking print, something like that. So you can put your signature down here, kind of small. Then you're going to lower the opacity of this way down so where it's nice and kind of light gray, maybe to, let's see, 28%, 30%, something like that. All right, now get your text tool. We're going to click right here and type the name of you or your photography. So we'll put Kelby Photography, and I'm going to select all my type. I'm going to hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC and hold the right arrow key, and that's going to put space between my letters, like that. Now that I've added the space, the type actually looks a little large. That was 18 point. I'm going to knock it down to 14 point. There we go. So it gives you kind of a little signature plate at the bottom of your image. Now, here's where it gets cool. We'll close the other one because we don't need it anymore. So what you're going to do is this. You're going to go here, and you're going to go to click on that layer, the little smart object layer, and we're going to save this as a template. So we're going to call this Pano, or we'll call it Instant Pano, which is what I call it in the book. Instant Pano Template. All right. So there it is, Instant Pano Template. All right, and you're going to close it, and that's the end of the tutorial. No, what happens is, weeks later you say, I really like the way it turns any photo into a pano, and you're going to go back to your Instant Pano Template. So here it comes. There it is. And you say, I want a different photo in there. So what you do is you Control-click on a Mac or right-click on a PC and choose Replace Contents. So this is weeks later, you find a different shot, you hit place, and pow, it puts it right back in there, and all you do is reposition it exactly where you like it, either up or down, something like that. So not only does it turn it into a pano, but you get the added bonus of the having the what's the word I'm looking for, Dave? Smart object. That's it.
Yes. Okay. I was
Smart
going to say the editability.
object, the editability and
I was
smart.
going to say je ne sais quoi.
The smart object activity or je ne sais quoi.
And
sorry.
the other nice part about the way you did that with the the solid color layer with the mask, because if you needed to, you could tweak that mask a little bit.
That's right.
Bigger,
you can make
smaller,
it thinner.
So
And
very
in the book, I actually
flexible.
show how to make it square, you know, like a square, like a fine art print, and things like that. So that's just a little
Very nice.
kind of a preview of one little tiny part of a very big book. Anyway, we are going to take a short break now because I think we need one. We're going to throw things over to the news. We're going to have Stephanie Cross standing by in the Action News Center with the latest in Photoshop-related news.
Photoshop Storm Team Action News with news anchor Stephanie Cross.
Hey guys, it's Stephanie again with the news for you today. First off, Camera Raw 4.1 has been released by Adobe. It's a free update that supports 13 cameras and has many new features including sharpening and noise reduction. Check it out at this website right here. And next, YouSendIt has announced a plugin for Photoshop that allows users to quickly and easily send files of any size directly from within Photoshop. Check it out at this website right here. And last but not least, thanks to Adobe and Google, Photoshop CS3 Extended can now browse the Google 3D warehouse and download 3D models right to Photoshop. Visit Adobe Labs to download the plugin. Check it out today. I'm Stephanie Cross, and I'll see you back next week.
Hi everybody, I'm Matt Klaskowski and I am here in front of the RAI Convention Center in Amsterdam. I'm at the Adobe Live event, and Adobe Live is basically, it's a 2-day Adobe Love Fest, if you could think of it that way. It's a free event to the participants, and it's where Adobe shows people all the coolest, all the latest, all the new stuff, and all of the Adobe products. So very cool thing. I know that everybody can't make it out to Adobe Live, so I figure what I'll do is take you inside for a quick tour so you can see what it looks like. Let's go. All right, everybody, well, I hope you enjoyed your tour here at Adobe Live in Amsterdam. I've got a session here in about 30 seconds, so I gotta go. There's about 800 people in there. But that said, I wish you could be here. It's a great event. Adobe did a really nice job of providing a free event for people to come to. So I'll see you again soon. Thanks.
Alrighty, we are back. I'm Scott Kelby, and with Mr. Dave Cross. And filling in for Matt Klaskowski, it's the Photoshop laddie, Corey Barker.
Hello, hello.
It's the laddie. Laddie's here. Well, hey, if you're in New York City, or if you feel like going to New York City, say, I don't know, Thursday, I will be teaching my Lightroom Live tour at the Jacob Javits Center. So come down and hang with me. For more information, go to photoshopseminars.com. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff.
Right.
And
Excellent.
stuff that is cool and good. Last week I was in Atlanta and just had a great time. And this week in New York, I'm sure I'll have a dynamite time. Going to hang out with some buddies out there. We're going to do some shooting.
Sweet.
We're shooting before the event. We'll do some shooting at the event. Probably do some shooting in the cab to the airport. So that's coming up.
And that ends this week. Photoshop on the road.
All right. Hey, also, speaking of Lightroom, I did an article over at Layers Magazine. In fact, I just happen to have a copy of Layers Magazine right here. If you haven't heard of Layers Magazine, it is the how-to magazine for everything Adobe, and it is full. Each issue is full of tutorials and tips and tricks from people. Oh, it's from Dave Cross. Well, there you go.
Hey.
So from people like Dave Cross and Corey Barker and Matt Klaskowski and myself and a host of other fun people. So go to layersmagazine.com and check it out. But the reason to go also to layersmagazine.com is I did a thing of kind of like 10 cool tips to get you going in Lightroom. So kind of some fun shortcuts and neat things in Lightroom over at layersmagazine.com.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, Dave, it's contest time.
It is, in fact, contest time. And you know what? You'll never guess. We had a contest last week, and somebody won.
I love that when they
Because
win.
they had the correct answer, which
So
was,
cool.
what's the keyboard shortcut for the blue channel? It was the Command 3 on the Mac or Control 3 on Windows. And out of the huge volume of correct answers, we picked this person right here as the winner of the fabulous prizes. So good for them. So this time around, we have more prizes.
Great.
Would you like to share a prize, Mr.
Yes.
Barker?
Mr. Barker, what will you be giving this week's winner?
The Lightroom book for digital photographers by none other than Mr. Scott Gilby. Right here. Great book. Awesome. It's good stuff.
Thank you. You'll also get a 1-year subscription to Layers Magazine. Why? Because it was sitting here on my desk. You'll also get, now this is a brand new DVD. This is from Faye Circus. It's actually Faye Circus. But I like saying circus because it makes her sound like she's from a foreign country. Space Circus. Faye is a Photoshop World instructor and an unbelievable artist. And she shows you, in a way that you will probably never see anywhere but from Faye, how to convert photographs into paintings. It is absolutely unbelievable. At Photoshop World, it is usually one of her pre-conference is one of the first ones to sell out. Yep. And she does classes in the regular conference track, and she's just amazing. It's an amazing DVD. You'll also win that.
Excellent. Now I have something I have to show you over here because it's called a quick stand. It's a really cool lighting stand, and what's cool about it is the way it's manufactured. Every time, most light stands, once you fix the legs, every time you go to pick it up and move it, the legs are sticking out and getting in the way. This one automatically collapses up and you move it, and when you put it down, it goes right back down again. It's very cool. Believe me, it's much cooler than it sounds. Like once you use it, you kind of go, oh, that makes such a huge difference. So the winner will also get one of those courtesy of Quick Stand. Sweet. So here's how you do that. I'm going to ask you a question, as I like to do at this time, and ask you to answer it with the correct answer. Would be even better. And the question for this time is, where do you find the option called rubber band? So you must be very specific in telling me where that is, and go to our website, You Can't Answer, and look for the enter contest thingy. You know how to do it. Enter once, and good luck to you. I hope you win.
Yes.
Alrighty, well, Corey Barker is going to send you out here in just a moment, not right this second, but just a moment with one for the road, because we always have a little tip to send you off. But we also like to give you 3 tips between this week's show and next week's show, so you won't just sit there in the room in the dark in your underwear. So, we have 3 things. Corey, what is your thing to tell them to do, advice to learn more about Photoshop?
Well, Seth Resnick has a site called D65.com. He hosts a workshop.
It's a workshop.
It's a workshop he has all year long, and he's got one coming up on August 10th through the 13th. You can find out more info on that. It's D65.com. Really
hey, Corey,
cool stuff.
Where is that seminar?
Where
the
is
workshop?
it at? It is in San Diego.
San Diego.
San Diego, California.
San Diego. So, and what's interesting about Seth's workshops are, besides the fact that it's a digital workflow, not work slow, kind of automation and getting faster stuff, is every workshop he's had this year has been sold out in advance.
Yes.
So if you want to go sign up now.
Do it now.
All right. My thingy, I forgot what my thingy is. Dave, do yours.
Okay,
I can't
I'll do
remember
my
what
thingy.
mine is. I'm looking at Seth's site, and that's not what I was.
If you're like me, you have a number of blogs that you visit on a daily basis to see who is saying what and what's new and so on. And I realized that I was every day going and visiting all these blogs just to see if there was anything new. And then I discovered this fabulous website called bloglines.com, where you basically add whatever blogs you want to monitor. And every day all I do now is go to that one website. On the left-hand side, it lists all the blogs I've identified and tells me which one has something new. I click on it, gives me a little preview, and I can decide if I want to then go and look at the website. So it's just a fabulous way of looking at a whole bunch of blogs in one quick, easy way, bloglines.com. Did you find it?
Yeah, I'm really embarrassed now because it was about Corey.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sorry. Corey has just done an online training course on using channels in Photoshop CS3. It's a 21-day course. It's 5 minutes a day, and it's the lad doing channels. And Dave, you've got one on.
I do. CS3 for beginners.
And Matt has one, I think, CS3 layers.
Power session.
No, he's got the
layers.
power session
layers
and layers.
Coming.
There's a ton of online training videos. Go to PhotoshopTraining.com, and you'll find out more than you could ever want to know. Okay. Now it's time to turn things over to the laddie, and the laddie is going to give you one for the road.
One for the road. Well, if you're in your layers palette and you want to be able to change the preview panel. Layers panel. Sorry. You want to change that preview size of your layers. You can do that on the fly by simply holding down the control key and clicking in any empty space of your layer. Select the size, small, medium, or large, preview, and there you have it.
And if you happen to be on a PC, you might want to try right-clicking instead.
Right-clicking.
Right-click away.
Sorry.
Just like that.
You get all those big, because when on the show here we always have those big thumbnails because we want you to be able to see when you're looking on an iPod, your screen is this big. All right. Well, we've had a wonderful time. You may or may not have seen a report from Matt Kloskowski. It depends on how lame or not lame he is. But we want to thank our biggest fan for being here. I want to thank you guys for watching once again. I want to thank all of our sponsors. God bless those people who are silly enough to sponsor this show. And you know who they are. Special thanks to Mr. Corey Barker for being here, filling in for the vacationing. Oh no, working hard, Matt Kloskowski. We'll see you guys again next week on behalf of myself and Mr. Dave Cross.
See you next time.
And the laddie.
See ya.
We'll see you guys next time right here. Take care. There it is. We wrote a lot of it. It's very good.